Hello and welcome. I am Xari Kim and welcome to the One Chunk Build Challenge, the movie. Because today season 1 will end. Yes, it will end. And why? Well, right now I'm on my summer break. In 2 weeks I will be back, and I will be back in a new world. And that world will be in 1.21. But that's not the only change. There's gonna be a very big surprise. I'm not gonna spoil it right now. I hope to see you there in 2 weeks. For now, I'm gonna show you all the builds that I've made this season so far. Let me know in the comments what was your favorite build. Thank you for all your support. Lately, we just hit 260 subscribers, so we are on the road to 300. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And for now, have fun by watching the movie. Thank you for all your support. Hello and welcome to my new series, the One Chunk Build Challenge. Yes, and this is my new build that I just made. This is the cute starter house or Hobbit Hole. And here I start with a 1 chunk. Now I actually put some wool around it so I know where I can go and what's the limit. I always like to start with this house with the front, so I put up a wall that actually stands out from the surroundings, but it's not too crazy or too bad. Now I think it's quite tricky because the build is not so big to kind of make a nice entrance, but not something that is too big and too overpowered. So I chose here for copper stairs, copper slabs and trapdoors to kind of make it look small but not too small, because it's a nice little starter house, or you can use this as a starter house. Now I will place some windows here because I like to have some natural lighting inside my houses. And then it's time to blend it into this mountain or this hill on the side, and that's why I chose this chunk. Because I like to build it in that it kind of flows natural in its surroundings, but still has its own little space and its own little things and everything inside what you want from a small little starter house. Now I chose the moss block here because I just like it if you bone meal it. I like the flowers, and under the moss carpets you can hide like light blocks pretty good and have some hidden lights so you don't see torches everywhere. Here I try to kind of make it flow with the hill so that it doesn't look too chunky, it doesn't look too out of space and out of the place. And I just remove and add until I'm happy with the flow and with the shape of the self-made hill. Now for a little house I always like to put a chimney with some smoke, and that is of course with a campfire and trapdoors around it. I think the smoke makes the build feel alive, that there's actually someone in there, it's not abandoned, it gives some movement, and I love that. And for the little pop and just a little more of the blending, I'm gonna use leaves, and this time it is the azalea flowering leaves and the normal leaves from the azalea. And then with mossing the moss blocks, all the flowers and all the tall grass will come around and it just blends nicely in. And also the side I like to blend in a little bit more, so don't be afraid to use some bushes and some leaves and some flowers. Just like to use what you want. Now I wanted to make like a hanging sign, but it was one block out of the chunk, so I removed it and I opted for a smaller light at the front of the house. And then it is time for the inside. I always like to use hidden lights on the inside, and in this case it's not that hidden, but it's behind some honey blocks, and it dims the light, but it still gives you this nice feeling of a light. I try to use the blocks that I also use on the outside as on the inside. I think it gives you a nice flow, it kind of combines it together. Now I do choose blocks that are far away from each other, so it's white with dark brown with orange and now the green, because I just love color. I love color, I love to play with color, and that's also why I use many times the bookcases. And of course flowers, carpets, and here it's time for the kitchen. Now this is a cute little trick. I put a campfire under a smoker and it feels like you're actually baking some nice cakes or whatever you want to bake. And this is a very cozy but very small bedroom. I like to kind of make it an own room but not completely wall it in. It gives it like an open space, but still it is like a private room. And of course you want to change the clothes once in a while, so I took an armor stand there. Now it's time for the outside. Because I used honey blocks inside and I do like some animals outside, I opted for beehives and bee nests so that I think it feels nice. And this is it. This is the first one chunk build challenge. And let me know in the comments what I should build next week, because the top comment with the most likes, that's what I will try to build next week or fail. And don't go too crazy, okay? Be nice to me. This is the inside. As you can see, I love colors, I love paintings, I love hidden lights. You can put some light blocks under the carpet to give it maybe even more light if you don't think this is enough. Now for a starter house, there's quite a lot of storage. I used a lot of barrels, but if it's still not enough, you can actually make a room underneath here with a little trapdoor as a secret entrance and have there all your storage and all your stuff you want to hide for other players or for anyone else. I really hope you like this. This is a new series. Let me know what you think and let me know what I should build. Thank you for watching. Give me a like and subscribe. And I see you next week. Have a lovely day. Bye bye. Now the video that pops up here now is for my other series. It's from the Xaricraft SMP. If you like my content, maybe give it a try. It is completely different, but I also love to build there. Welcome, my name is Xari and this is how to build a rocket ship in one chunk in Minecraft. Thank you Joe for the idea, and you, hey, subscribe so I can grow my channel. And now, let's go building. First I set up a chunk, and a chunk in Minecraft is a 16 by 16 area. So I have to stay in the black and the yellow blocks. So this is a setup for the rocket ship that comes above it. And I try to give myself enough space to build it, because I want to build like the booster underneath this. When I was building, I thought it was too close to the ground, so I removed some from the bottom and put it up a bit higher. And here I'm trying to shape the bottom so that it's not as chunky. And with a one chunk, all about scaling, and that's the hardest part of a build. So I'm trying with glass to add some movements into the booster. I did it with 3 different kinds of glass paints. It's yellow, orange and red. And I placed them, and you see me placing and removing them a lot just when I'm happy with the shape. And this can take a while, but just play around with it, play around with the colors and see when you like it. And now it is time to add a little bit more height in the rocket, so I can attach the fins to it. Well, I hope you call it fins. But what keeps the rocket stable. So this is building on a diagonal, and that can be tricky because most of the times it comes out really chunky. So I'm trying my best not to overpower the build with it. I add some color for some depth, and this is the layer, the black layer, to kind of divide the lower part of the top part of the rocket, what I'm building now. And I try to give myself a 3D shape that I can kind of shape down and kind of get in form that I like. And when I'm ready with that, then I use color to kind of define the top of the rocket with the middle part of the rocket. And I also use the same colors from the top as on the bottom to kind of make it feel like it belongs together. Now don't worry, you can just swap out colors if you don't like it. I do it all the time. And now it's time for adding some colors to kind of define the areas, but also some light blocks. And I thought, well, this is going to be the compartment for the fuel. Let's add some mushroom lights. It adds some lights to the build, so it's not one dark thing. And it also gives some 3D effect because I used the glass paints in front of it. And then I changed my mind that I wanted to use the same color scheme as on the bottom, so the 3 different kind of paints, yellow, orange and red. And then it's time for the inside, and in a small area that can be tricky. So here I'm trying to use chasing lights. Then you use a circle of observers facing toward each other. And when you have the first layer, you put the second layer up, but then with facing downwards into the first layer of observers, and then you can see the redstone poles going around. Add some redstone lamps to it, and then you have this effect. Now I also want to have some lamps on the side, so I put some redstone dust and added some more redstone lamps to it. And because it's really flashy, I wanted to dull it down a little bit. So I used the grey glass to kind of make it less flashy in my face. Every time if I go decorating, I try to define rooms. So here I'm gonna define the cockpit with the bedrooms and the pillars for the ladder, but it also kind of chops up the area. Now I need to lose one window, and I do love windows because it brings light inside of a build, but I want to build the cockpit. Now I'm not a rocket scientist at all, so for the decoration, as you can see, I'm using different kind of colors. I wanted a redstone light, so that's why I placed 2 observers there. I always like to add paintings, it mimics like a computer screen. And then end rods for light in the build. And with the trick with the levers, it's kind of more an industrial TL looking light or lamp. And of course you have to sit down when you are in charge of a rocket, so I built in some chairs. Build in some storage, some plants, some paintings to make it feel alive. And then it's time for the bedroom. Now I'm gonna show you 3 different designs for bunk beds, because I think it's always funny to have bedrooms, but it can be tricky in a very small space. Now, I like to use a lot of trapdoors to divide the space, like space it off, and here I'm using trapdoors and banners. And of course, in a rocket ship you also need a toilet. It is gonna be a small one, but with a lever that mimics a crane or tap, you also have some water. And hey, it wouldn't be a Xari build if there are no hanging plants around. And then it's time for the outside, for underneath the rocket. So when a rocket goes in the air, you see this cloud like puffing around. Now the hardest thing for me is that I had to stay in a one chunk. But I also decided to use the color. So I put the darker color, dark grey glass in the middle, then grey glass around it, and then the white glass. So it mimics like the dark is coming out of the booster, and then the white puffy clouds are going all around it. And then I hope not to make it too chaotic. And then adding for some light in the darkness, I used some glow lichen. And I love the effect with these shaders, and I think it turned out amazing. Now I had a blast building this rocket. If you have any ideas for a next episode, please let me know in the comments. Try to like it, to subscribe, it really helps me out pushing my videos. And thank you for watching. Now let's see how the rocket turns out. I'm gonna do an overfly inside out, and thank you. I see you next time. Hello and welcome, my name is Kim and today we're gonna build this wizard tower in one chunk in Minecraft. Thank you Chris for the idea. Now I chose this chunk in this rock in the ocean because I think locations for some builds definitely add to the atmosphere. Because a one chunk is not a really big place, I thought I'm gonna make diagonal layers all the way up to the top and then I try to add my base in there. So this is the first base setting from the build. Now I'm just adding shapes and adding some color, so in my mind I can see if this color palette will work for me. So you can already see it's pretty dark because we're gonna make a dark wizard tower and not just, I almost went to a cherry biome and made a pink wizard tower, but for now it's gonna be a dark wizard tower. Now from the diagonal base I think a tower needs to be slim in the middle and then pop out again, and that is what I'm trying here. I'm just trying to add height into the build so that if you see it from the ground, it is like this big tower towering over you and have all these feelings around it. And now here you can see I'm trying to build like the roof shape, the roof chamber on the tower. I don't know how you call it. So I'm putting up walls and then I'm trying to put up a roof. Now I am not the best with making buildings of towers. This is actually my second tower that I tried and I thought I'm just going for a dark tower. I never build dark stuff a lot. This is more like the Sauron dark evil tower. That is my inspiration basically. Now you have to add some beams here also to break up the shape. And in a build it is important to have lights. Now you can use hidden lights and here I opted for really big lanterns hanging around because I think it suits it, and it uses the space. It kinda, it's not as empty. Now my builds are not that symmetrical, so I'm trying to have the different heights in the lamps to kinda use the negative space. And here someone who's really good at roofs, maybe you can give me some tips and tricks. But what I do a lot in my build, when I have this 3D model in front of me, then I go in and then I scale it, I sculpt it, and I try it on one side, and if I like it on one side, I do it on the other side. And then I'm looking, are the lines that are really straight, and then I try to break up those lines. So that is what I do here with the copper. And for the depth in the build, I also use color. And that is why I used the dark prismarine on top of the light prismarine, just to give it this depth. And Android are really good for that as well. Not only give they light, they give this animation, and I think a lot of 3D effect in a build. Now this is typical me trying different shapes out. In my mind, in my head, I know what I want. I just have to figure it out how to put it on a build or in a build. And I don't mind if I have to do this 10, 20 or 30 times. As long as the result is what I like, then I'm fine with it. Now for the inside of builds, for me, I just get rid of all the extra blocks that I pull up to make a shape. So that is basically one layer. And if I have that one layer, then I'm just looking at the lines and the colors and I try to go from there to fill up every room one by one. And here I decided some pillars and lights would be really good. Now you can see I tried at lanterns, I tried at end rods, and the end rods won it for me. And I needed a way to go up and down in the tower, and because the middle is so small, I could only use on one block. So it's gonna be a water pillar. Just a normal water stream up and down. Just one water stream. But it works. And then it is time for the base. Now the base looks very blocky and is really small. So I try to bulk it out a little bit and to shape it a little bit. So I have more room inside to do the decorations. And this is how it looks now with shaders on. And sometimes I put my shaders on just to see, do I have enough light in the build? Do I have enough depth in the build? Do I like certain blocks or do I have to swap things around? But I liked it, and now it's time for the beam. or the evil eye, or the evil something. I don't know how to call it, but I opted for orange and a beam because I think it will suit the build. Now you can see me here placing a lot of glass to kind of have this eye thing in the middle. And I'm using glow lichen here to make it pop out, definitely in the dark. And I think this is something you see me do quite a lot in my builds. I really like lanterns going up and going around, or going with the wind in a world. And why? Because I think it gives movement and light to a build. Now first, normal I do this with dirt. I make a pillar up with dirt. In creative I do it with glass. It's just easy to remove as well. But in the survival world, dirt is easier to remove than glass, or netherrack, or moss. I'm gonna show you around with shaders. Please give me a like and subscribe. It really helps to grow my channel, and I really appreciate all your support lately. It's been crazy, it's been really fun. And for now, a flyover. Hello and welcome, I am Xarikim and this is Minecraft One Chunk Builds. And today I'm gonna build the windmill. And it is a nice cute little starter house, but let's go building. So this is one chunk and it's 16 by 16. And indeed it is not too big, but I'm first gonna lay out the shape. Now recently I got a lot of new subs, so I really want to thank you, I really appreciate it. And if you didn't sub yet, please hit the button, because it really helps me grow my channel and push the videos out. Thank you so much. Now when I'm done with the shape, I kind of fill in the floor. Bear in mind that when I put up shapes, it's just for me so that I can see the 3D shape of a build, and then I go in with all the colors, swap colors around and just see what I like to do. If it's too light, I swap out for darker colors. And here I'm gonna make this area that I attach the blades of the windmill. Now for the blades of the windmill, you have to bear in mind that they all have to go the same way with the curve, because they go within the wind, of course. And if you do this weird, if you do this the other way around, it's gonna look weird. If one goes left and the other goes right, they cannot turn. And it's a bit tricky, because I've been looking and like, yeah, I did it wrong a couple of times as well. And that's also why I needed a little bit of space outside of the building, because I know the blades would stick out a little bit. But the basic build will fit in a one chunk. And here I thought I'd need to put some structures to the blade, but also it is white against a blue and white background with the clouds. And this will just frame the build, frame the blades, because it is so much darker. It's like an outline on a building or an outline on a drawing. See? This is what I mean with it. It functions as an outline. and I really think it makes it just pop out of the background. Here I'm going to fill in the second layer. Now I will use kind of the same blocks all the way through, and we are in the cherry biome, so yes, I am going to use also some cherry wood. This is deep slate. Everything I use in this build is basically from the start. Yes, you have to mine a little bit for the dark oak, maybe you have to travel a little bit, but it's not that you have to go to the end or to the nether to get the blocks that I'm using in this build. So it really can be built as a starter house. And of course, if you don't like the pink, you can just swap it around. I'm just using pink because I'm in a cherry biome on a hill, and I think it fits. Here you can see me just trying different shapes, different colors, and I thought it was too dark with all of the deep slate, so I changed it around for like the fences, the cherry wood fences, the hay bales to give it a pop of light, and as you can see, it is still all in one chunk. And this can take a very long time. I think it's the Xari winging style, the same as with the roofs. I know kind of what kind of shape I want. I want it kind of a round of shape, like not like a tower, like it towers above it. And then I just add and add and add blocks until I'm actually happy with the shape. Now I think there are many builders doing this very different, but this is how my mind works and how I like it. And I also try to get rid of the really sharp edges. Everything is in one line. I use, like here, I'm using a frame that kind of breaks that one line. And indeed it was really dark, so I swapped out some deep slate for stone bricks. And don't forget to add the lanterns, don't forget to add like torches or candles, because light does so much to a build. It highlights areas, it gives shadows to other areas. And here I am using another color than in the other two roofs because I want it to pop out. I don't want it all be the same color. And of course I'm only using like 3-4 main colors in this build for the outside, so that's not that much. And then it's time for the inside. And the inside with ReplayMod is always a bit tricky because it is so small. It's so small, and I always try to make it like a functional base that looks like it's alive, that works on the inside. And that's why I always use a campfire under a smoker. It just gives this nice effect that people are living there, are cooking. And yeah, when I build a kitchen, close to a kitchen, I think there should be a space to sit. So this is the dining table, and then of course in the base you want to add some storage, you want to add some funny stuff. So I add barrels for storage. This is a closet for your first armor kit you find, and here I use a lot of paintings. Now this is how small the bedroom is, and I was fighting. I tried many different ways how to make the bedroom, and I have to admit here, call me a cheater. Indeed, the wheat is outside the one chunk, but the pathways around are not. So, but I thought it just gives the pop of light and color I needed, and it is. Hello. So this is the first time I'm using OBS in my series, and why? I just like to show you around. And this is a little tip. If you want to have the land watered so that all the wheat can grow, I just use water and a slab with a fence and a torch, so it lights up the area and it keeps it wet. And I do like that. So I think it really pops out. And yes, this is it. From the back side, the front, you can walk all the way around it. It's all in the one chunk. And let's go inside. Now see how small it really is. It's just a couple of block space you can move. But I do like it. The entrance, I like always to kind of divide a space in different corners. So this is the kitchen corner. And there's the smoker, it absolutely works. Storage, the sitting area with some books and lights of course. And here is the barrel with maybe your first kit of gear, if you find it. Now I like to use shelves in different spaces and different heights. And as you can see, I'm actually putting a chest on it because a chest is a little bit smaller than a barrel. That's why I think it fits it better. A little place you can sit, write your book, read a book. It's just also to fill up a corner. And this is the bedroom. Yes, I changed it around. What do you think? I think it's cozy. The only thing I kind of forgot and what I can still do is you can put banners in front of the windows. It doesn't block all the light, but it gives it more like secure feeling that But I do like lights in the build. I do like natural light in a build. So this is why I made it like this. In a bedroom, a little bit of candles. It can all work. It's still just examples how I like to decorate, how I like to use paintings and plants and lamps and colors. And this is it. This is my starter house. The Windmail starter house. And thank you all for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And next week, tell me, what do you want me to build? Do you have any ideas? Because I really like to build in one chunk. It's a challenge for me as well. Normally I would build really big. So thank you for watching. I hope to see you next week. Hello and welcome back. I am Kim and this is Minecraft one chunk build, the Snail, and it's requested by Crafty Paul. Thank you for the idea. Now he didn't just request a snail, no. He said I want to have a snail that is stuck on the rocks with slime blocks. Well, if you think what is this, just like me, please subscribe and see how this is turning out. And now I'm actually gonna build the base of the snail, like the body of the snail. And here I'm using a mushroom blocks with quartz stairs and slabs. And I thought the mushroom blocks would be really nice, but every time if I remove the block next to one block, it showed the really brown inside. So I wasn't too happy to build with it. It is a bit tricky. Here I'm actually trying to attach the neck to the body with a nice flow. And you see me doing this a lot. I add, I remove, and I look from the side. I take some distance and I look if I like how the flow is going, how the curve is going. Is it okay? Yes, no. I'm never afraid to just place and remove blocks. And it's also for the eyes. I was just trying to figure out how big does the head need to go, how high does the eyes need to go. I really wanted to put the eyes a block in the front, but that would mean they would be outside of the one chunk. And the challenge is to stay in the one chunk. So I swapped them around and I thought for the eyes I'm gonna use Eyes of Ender. And with that being a build, it was time for the shell of the snail. Now, I really wanted to try the pattern in the shell. And how much I tried it, how much I changed the colors around, it just didn't really work. And this is how it goes a lot with building. You try things out, it doesn't really work. It's never perfect in one go, and that's okay. And if it doesn't work out, you just remove it and you try it again until you're happy with it. And I think that is also like a creative process in my mind. I know I want to have it like a 3D shell, and I know I want to have it like this. And sometimes it works and sometimes it didn't work. But with the shell build, I thought, oh, the head is way too low. I need to make the neck longer, and that is what I'm doing here. Attach the shell to the neck and then make his head with his weird eyes on it. And I'm using mushroom blocks because I like the light, but I also like the color of it. With an item frame and some ender pearls, I think it makes it look very derpy. That's exactly what I like for this snail. Now with that being done, I'm actually removing some of the mushroom blocks because I just didn't like how much mushroom blocks I had with how much quartz I used. It just looked a bit off. And when I removed that, the head was really flat. So here I'm just trying to kind of play around with stairs that gives me this opening, this gap in his head, like a more of a 3D part in the build. Now I know this is not really his eye, but I'm just using a block here to give it a little bit of a depth with a different color. And I leave those openings there because I think it just works. It gives the build another layer, it's not as flat, and I like it. And I also repeat it on the other side. Now because I used the mushroom light that is orange, I thought I'm gonna frame the shell also with orange, with an orange color, and it didn't work out. So I thought, no, I'm gonna give myself a little bit more space and see if somehow I can actually draw the pattern on it. And then I was trying a skulk veins. Yes, indeed, you need to go to a deep dark for it, but you can actually get it. And I actually liked how this is turning out. It gives me the pattern, but it's still see-through. You can still see the color underneath it. And I think it works out. Now for the snail trill, yeah, try to say that 5 times. I'm using glow lichen. It gives also the see-through effect, but I think it mimics slime pretty good. And then it's time to go inside. Of course, even this build, how small it is, can have an inside. And how do I start with an inside? Well, I remove all the blocks that I know how much to work with. And this is basically a 5 wide by 8 or 9 blocks long, but you can actually build a base inside of here with storage, with beds, and here I'm gonna make bunk beds. Why? You know, I think if you travel around the world in your snail and you make some friends, it's always nice that you can say, hey, you can have a sleepover, why not? But I'm starting with a bunk bed so I know how to divide the space, how to add. I added here some paintings, some colors, some plants, some bookshelves, and a crafting table. And every base needs a sitting table. You can eat your dinner. And of course, if you're gonna have some dinner, you need a small little kitchen. And that is what I'm making here. Now, in every build, I try to have some light from the outside going inside. And it did fit in here with the pattern of the snail. So I thought, yes, that is a success. And for the rest, I'm gonna decorate it with plants, with pots, with some more storage under the floor, and with paintings and hanging pots. It's just with saplings or with flowers, but I really like how it turned out for the inside of the snail. Look, isn't that cute? I think it really is. Now, Prof. Paul, I hope you really like it. I hope you all like it at home watching me. Thank you so much. Lately, we are gaining subscribers and we slowly growing this channel. I very appreciate it. So join the club, subscribe now, and then you never have to miss another weird build that I'm gonna make. And now I'm gonna show you around how the build looks like. So Paul, these are really the slimy rocks with slime blocks, because that is what he requested, with the slime trail of the snail. This is how the sun hits it, and I think it just pops out and it's really funny. And I think I'm gonna call it Pauline. Pauline the snail. I think it fits it. Now you can actually go inside, press the button, the door will open, and this is like the little hallway up to the base in the snail. And yes, if you want to go out, you also press the button, because it's an iron door. You have to press a button, otherwise it wouldn't open it, and you don't have to break it. Now this is a very small space. It's like 5 wide by 9 long, but it all works. It's all there. And yes, the trapdoors do work. If you go up the ladder, you can stand on the trapdoors and you can sleep in your bed. It's not obstructed or anything like it. It works. Just like this one, you can just jump in bed basically. And this is like a little hiding spot where you can maybe hide your first ever armor that you found. Now I used a lot of barrels. I used some shelves with some chests on it, some plants hanging around, a little kitchen with a window so that you can see this day and night. And this, indeed, underneath the carpet, that's a little trick I do a lot. If you have a small base and you need more storage, you can just hide the barrels like that and not a lot of people will find it. And then I think it's a very creative way to have more storage. Now thank you all very much for watching. I hope you come back next episode, and for now I'm gonna show you a tour around, a flyover. back and don't click away, don't be afraid, this is indeed the One Chunk Build series, but today we do a different spin. I'm gonna build on a skyblock and I'm gonna build this lighthouse, and you, if you subscribe, then I can start building, so let's go. This is the start of the skyblock. Indeed, it is all gonna be with tuff and the first layer, then I decorated it. This is the chunk I'm gonna build the lighthouse in. One chunk is a 16 by 16. And you can see when I lay down the chunk that the island isn't even that big. So the lighthouse will not be that big too. The first thing is always to lay out your basic shape and then set it up in blocks and see how high you want to make it. Now I always put a center pillar up in one of my buildings so I can see like, okay, this is basically the max height I want my building to look good. The first layer was 9 blocks high, and then the second layer, the first red band, is 4 blocks high. And that is for a reason. And I chose for bone blocks because they has this really nice texture that if you place them all upwards, you can actually see a little bit of a 3D effect. And that's what I'm doing right now. Of course, sometimes you misplace a block, but hey, don't worry. Now I choose red concrete blocks against the white because it really makes it pop. And that's what you want for a lighthouse, don't you? Then it's time for the floor, so I can actually put the next layer on top of it. And the next layer will be a little bit smaller. Now I'm trying to figure out the shape as well. And as you can see, I'm not completely on the edge. I want to have some kind of room to add a shape or to play around with decorations. And now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how high do I want my second layer? And sometimes I fly away and look from afar if it's high enough, if it's in scale. And I chose this second layer to be 9 blocks high. And then the next red layer is only gonna be 3 blocks high. Not 4, but 3 this time. On top of that, it's also gonna be a white layer, and that is also gonna be 3 blocks high. And of course, if you want to make a bigger one or a taller one, you can always add more blocks to it. So I tried to put here a little bit of a thing that I can see from the bottom. Okay, that's where the light goes. And when I flew away from a distance, I saw this build was very blocky. So then it's time to add a little bit more blocks. And that is why I gave myself some space to add blocks. To kind of work around, make it less boxy and blocky. And when I'm ready with the shape, I do it on all the sides. So that is basically a symmetrical build that I don't do that many times, but in this case, I think it kind of worked out. And now it's time for the roof. Yeah, I'm not particularly really good with roofs, but I know what kind of shape I want. I want for the middle where I now place the cobblestone, I want the lights for the lighthouse in there. And I'm gonna use chasing lights, so it's gonna be a real working lighthouse. Now I wasn't happy with that shape, so I thought I have to move it away. But now I had a clue how high I wanted the lights, so I'm gonna make myself a platform and use observers, placing that into a circle for the chasing lights. And yes, I have used this before. So what you do, you place the observers into each other in this perfect circle. Don't forget to point the last one also in the good direction. Then the second layer of observers, you point them downwards, that the top, the red dot, is on the top. And you can already see it blinking on and off, so then you know it is working. Well, for all these kind of chasing lights, you can actually add 2 layers of redstone lamps, but then I needed space, so I just removed my temporary roof and added the redstone lamps. I chose for yellow glass because I think from a distance it's really nice to see this yellow glass glowing in the distance. And I opted for another layer of glowstone so that it is a little bit more light and you can actually see it from far away. So when that is done and all working, it's time to make a roof and to frame those lights. And I use for a darker block, in this case it's what blackstone, because I thought it really makes a pop. Then you get the white, the reds and the yellow from the lights, and the black will just pop it out.
Now you see me doing this multiple times, so I actually make a shape and then look, is the shape okay? And then I add some blocks and remove some blocks. In this case it was just basically staircase around the glass, and then I build it up with another full block, and then with staircases again with another full block on top of staircases, and that's basically the entire roof. And then I look from far, do I like it? And then sometimes I add a block here or add a wall there. And when I have the basic shape, it is time to add some details. Don't be afraid to just try it out on one side and look if you like it or not. And in this case I thought, the grey blocks are too grey, they're not, but the blackstone is too dark if I use more, so I used a deep slate. It's just an in-between, and I think it really made it pop out and not too dark. Adding some lights is always important, and that's also why I like to use windows in my build, so you have the natural day cycle going into your build. Now I opted for one wide windows because in real life you see lighthouses, the windows are not that wide as well. And I'm using dark oak logs for this, also to make it pop out of the red and white background. And now it's time for the inside, and what do I always do when I start with the inside? Yes, I make as much space as I can by removing all the double blocks or the blocks that are not really needed there. I chose the same blocks for the roofs and for the flooring as I use on the outside, so that it will be like all together and it matches up, I think. And then it was time for the second layer to give myself as much space. I mean, these buildings are not that big, it's just in one chunk, and if I want to decorate it, I like to give myself as much space as I possibly can so I know what to work with. When everything is empty, I like to divide the spaces. So then of course you can keep it open, but I like to have a corner for a kitchen, have a corner for a living room, and also have a different room, maybe a working room or a library, or in your bedroom of course. So here I'm also dividing the height, like in chambers. And I thought this was the perfect in-between room for like a workroom. It is, after all, a working lighthouse, and if you have to repair it, you better can have some spare parts around. So that is what I'm mimicking here. And then I made a ladder to the next room, and there is the bedroom. And I chose this one for the bedroom, even if it is smaller, because it has lights. You have the natural day cycle, day and night cycle, and natural light coming in. And I always like that in a build. Now you need some books, you need somewhere place to sit, some storage, and of course many paintings and plants and shelves. That's the stuff I like to decorate with. And that's what I'm doing right here. When that is done, it's time for the living room. And in this case I thought, what do you really need in the cold evenings on an island? Yes, indeed, you need a nice fireplace. This is a very easy and a very small one. I think it looks so cute and cozy in every living room, to be quite honest. There it is. It's just some staircases with a campfire and glass. And to make a nice sitting area, I use a different type of wood. It's oak. And yes, adding also some color with the staircases and with a carpet. And if you need, you can hide, of course, light blocks under a carpet. And in this case, I love hanging plants and I love hanging lights. And there you go. Here I just framed the windows the same way as I framed them on the outside. I think it just looks nice, it looks complete. With a nice kind of a trim or rim around it, and yes, I used some end rods. Now time for the kitchen. The kitchen is small, but I think you can definitely use it as a kitchen here. I always like to use like a campfire under a smoker, so it mimics it that it is a working kitchen. I like to use the trapdoors as shelves. I always add like a furnace, a working bench, and in this case also of course some sitting down. And I thought these campfires look great as low chairs. Now it's time for the entrance, and yes, I always like to frame the entrance and make a little bit of light in there. Some storage, just some stuff that to fill up the place that's not so empty, and a closet always works well. So the entire lighthouse is a one chunk, and what I'm gonna do now will not be in one chunk, but I think it just adds so much to a build if you just use a little bit of terraforming. Now I made this complete island on a skyblock, so it is a lot of terraforming, but in this case if you just build this on any world, the rocks, this is the tough block, it's just a bit, it's not that many workers, not that crazy of a terraforming. And yes, and I really liked it. And then you need some pathways, of course, to the fishing pond. And here it is, my lighthouse. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time.